Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about Spring Boot starters. Spring Boot starters are pre-configured dependency descriptors that simplify adding Spring Boot related jars to the project, which means whenever you add a starter to the project, Spring automatically download those required jars to the project and set the class path so those jars will be available by default at your project. If you look at in this page, in the below page, you see there's Eclipse page. So usually what we do, I used to download those required jars to the project and add those jars to the project by using library tab. I add jars by using add jars or external jars manually. If there are 30 jars, I would download 30 jars and add those jars to the project by using this tab. It's a manual effort. But by using Spring Boot Starter, if I want to develop Spring Boot web-based application, simply use Spring Boot Starter Web. This is like a prefix. Spring Boot Starter is a prefix. Web is a suffix, which means I'm going to develop Spring Boot's web application, and this starter is going to pull all the jars, required jars, main jars, related jars, download and set to the project. Means it will set the class path for those jars. I can use those jars functionality at the project straight away. So all the jars will have this template name Spring Boot Starter. Then if it is a web means web will be there. If it is a JPA means JPA will be there. So this is the common name. Mostly we'll add this starters pom.xml for Maven, build.gradle file for Gradle. And if you look at, there are more than 50 starters are available, means categorization technically. So if I want to develop web-based applications by using Spring Boot framework, I use this starter, Spring Boot Starter Web. Means all web-related jars will be available at project. So technically, it's going to add features. I mean, add download jars for RESTful level, Tomcat level jars, MVC level jars, Jackson, and other. So if you add this starter, it's going to download jars required for all these features. Technically, web related jars will be automatically downloaded, set to the current project. Straight away, we can use those jars. And there are other starters like data JPA, MongoDB, security, dash dash dash. Spring Boot Starter is a base starter. If you create a Spring Boot application, this core starter will be available, which has features like auto configuration, logging, dash dash dash. So this is like a sample starter for Spring Boot Web. This is for the Maven. This is for the Gradle. So benefits of starters. So as I said, if you add one starter, it's going to add multiple jars required for the project. No need to add additional jars required for the project. And automatically it will configure, means auto configuration means it will download the jar and those jars will be set to the class path so that you can straight away use those jars. And it's one of the best practice. And we can focus on business logic rather. Download the jar, add to the project, set the class path, and no need to do all that manual work. Straight away, those features will be available at one shot. Let's create a sample project. Starter example. Spring Boot, Java, Maven. Next. So I'm not adding any dependencies. I'm not adding Spring Web dependency here. take a latest Spring Boot version, just create. So it's downloading required plugins. I mean, basically it's creating a project. Let's wait. So since it's a Maven project, this is the Maven form.xml. So what I will do, okay, before that, let's see external libraries. If you look at Spring level, these are the core jar files are available. So which has come from Spring Boot starter and test. So whenever you create a Spring Boot application, by default, these two starters means dependency will be added by default. Because of that, it's going to add these jars. So whenever you add this, I mean, whenever the Spring Boot add this particular starter, it's going to pull all these jars, download and available at our project. So for this test, I think these are the jars added. 1, 2, 3, 4. For web, let's add web. So we do not see any jars with the name Spring Boot web. Let's add this dependency. See, it's downloading Tomcat additional jars. Okay, now you see it's added HTTP, Jackson, and Servlet and web. So Spring Boot web server test. So these are additional jars are added and available at class path straight away. So let me do one thing. I will cut down, remove this, and sync the project. See, those jars are removed. So by using this functionality, Spring Boot starter, we can add the dependency which will going to add required jars, additional jars, related jars. Related means nice to have jars. So again, I add the dependency. Let's sync it. Build. See, okay, it's parsing. Okay, it's added the jars. See, web related jars are available. So this is the use of Spring Boot starter. So let me add something like actuators. No, MongoDB, or I would say Spring Boot Dev Tools. So this particular jar added Dev Tools. So let me cut down this guy. See if this will be still available or not. Yeah, that jar is removed. So this is the use of Spring Boot starter.